Hi, everyone, and welcome to this training series on health and climate change in Montana. My name is Peter McDonough, and I'll be hosting this first series of videos to kind of give you some context before we head into more of the content. I'm the Director of Climate Change Studies here at the University of Montana. It's an undergraduate degree program, it's a minor, and it's interdisciplinary, drawing students from all over campus to learn about climate change. And my goal with this series of videos, which I'm calling Climate Change 101, is to kind of give you a taste of what my students do, which is to look at climate change from a lot of different angles and try to get a sense of how it fits into their particular skills and passions. Here's kind of my overarching goal and what we're going to do. I want to give you a sense of how climate change impacts you and your work, kind of see yourself as part of this system, both in terms of how it will impact you and also in terms of how your particular sector or job has a place within climate change. Then we'll talk a little bit about how we as a society or as individuals or governments respond to climate change. What do we do to actually limit the effects or respond to the effects? And we're also going to kind of weave in a discussion about how we really respond as human beings, as individuals, to a crisis. And this will be a little bit of a primer before you get into climate psychology later in this series. Some things I want to preface in this little introduction that I'm doing here. This will get a little complicated at times, not too complicated, it's fairly accessible to anyone, but there might be some technical details and explanations that either go over your head or in one ear and out the other, and that's totally okay. You know, you can always turn the video off and watch it again later, come back to it, ask a friend. But one of the fundamental things that's good to understand about climate change is that you don't need to be an expert on climate change in order to be effective. What is important is that whatever you bring to the table, whatever your passions and skills and knowledge are exactly the things you should be bringing, and that those are vital to addressing climate change. It's not just whether you are a geologist or a climatologist or a hydrologist, but you might be an artist or a nurse or a musician or a political scientist. And all of these skills and passions are absolutely necessary to addressing climate change. What I'm hoping this series of videos will do is give us a shared vocabulary and a shared understanding that will help us communicate and work together and, you know, be a more effective community in addressing climate change. How I'm going to lay this out, this is just an introductory video, but the next video will be climate fundamentals. So we'll get sciencey, we'll talk about the who, what, when, where, why, and how of climate change. Then we'll talk a bit about, you know, kind of our observations, what we're seeing right now, where the climate is currently, and where it's headed or where we think it's headed, and try to project into the future what that will mean in terms of local and global impacts. Then we'll talk about mitigation, namely how to keep climate change from getting worse. And then adaptation. How do we respond to the changes that we have already set in motion and which we cannot undo currently? And then we'll wrap up with a video basically critiquing this module. The way I'm going to present climate change to you is not necessarily the best way to present climate change. So we're going to look in that last video on how we did this and what kinds of effects that might have on your reception and retention of climate change. So with that, if you're ready, go ahead and turn this video off and jump into climate fundamentals, and we'll get sciencey. I'll see you there.